Listen to Salam Media.
Time is just gone 21 minutes past 8 a.m. and breaking news that has just come out is former President Jacob Zuma has been granted compassionate leave. Now, this has come through from Correctional Services, and this is in line with Section 44 of the Correctional Services Act, where the former president has been granted compassionate leave so that he can attend a family bereavement. And this is with regard to his brother who has passed away. But what Correctional Services is saying is a sentenced offender who is granted permission to leave a correctional center remains a sentenced offender even while temporarily outside, and the permission that has been granted to the former president is for today, the 22nd of July. Now, moving ahead with the show this morning, we are going to be joined now by Michael Beaumont. We're talking about Action South Africa, and they've noted a public presentation of Section 14, and this was a report that was issued with regards to a public inquiry into free and fair elections, and this is within the context of the COVID-19 pandemic as initiated by the Independent Electoral Commission. Michael, good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ian. Thanks so much for having us.
Yes. Now, let's just try and understand. Obviously, this report was issued by Justice Moseneke, and this is following this public inquiry into free and fair elections. Let's just try and understand the background to this, because we know that the IEC obviously has initiated this. But what you are saying is the IEC inaction lies at the heart of the delay in elections.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to provide some context for the listeners, Section 14.4 of the Electoral Commissions Act of 96 allows the IEC to commission a report that will reflect upon how free and fair an election can be, given whatever environmental factors may be at play. It's never been invoked before, but at the time of COVID-19 and the impact the pandemic has on elections, it has been invoked for these elections, and Justice Moseneke was commissioned to produce that report. I think from the outset, we must be fair that the report is an excellent report. You know, a huge amount of people have been consulted, and a very delicate balance has had to be struck between the issue of the right to health and life, as well as the right to vote and participate in our democracy, both of which are of paramount importance. I think our position actually is that we are concerned, and we believe the South African people should be, that there has had to be a choice between the right to health and life versus the right to vote in our country, when both of those rights are guaranteed in our Constitution. And going back to your question, Indeed, my view there is that the IEC is somewhat to blame for this, because in the report, there was a public opinion poll in which 61% of South Africans said they believe the election should be moved. And that can only happen in an environment where the IEC has not been proactive. They haven't communicated what steps they're going to put in place to run safe elections that give South Africans confidence. And this is the outcome we sit with today.
Yes. Now, obviously, you have expressed your concerns as ActionSA, Michael, but South Africa is not unique in this COVID era in terms of holding elections. We've seen elections taking place right across the world during this pandemic. So, why should South Africa obviously be different? Because many of these elections, and we know they were successfully held right across the world.
Well, I think the answer lies in the vaccination program. So, I mean, you're quite right. There were 125 national elections that took place around the world between February last year and June this year. And many of those elections took place in a manner which didn't result in super spreader events. Some of them did. But both of those offer opportunities to determine what a best practice model for running a safe election would be. So we believe that the IEC has been relatively lethargic in terms of, examining that and producing a best practice model. But the answer lies in vaccination, because at this stage, the percentage of our population that would be vaccinated by October would not be high enough to achieve that community immunity threshold that is necessary to reduce the pressures on our hospitals and reduce the serious cases where death and serious illness takes place. And the best demonstration of that is what's going on in the UK right now. At the peak of our third wave now, the UK and South Africa had similar levels of infections, but their deaths and hospitalizations were a fraction of ours. And that is why, in this particular instance, an election in October would have been a problem.
Yes. Now, obviously, South Africa, we know a lot has happened since last year, since the pandemic had first surfaced in the country. But also a key issue here is, how will this benefit the ruling party? How will it benefit the governing party as well? Because one of the areas of concern has been accountability and the crisis here that the country is suffering from an accountability perspective, Michael.
Without question. And I mean, there is an accountability crisis in South Africa, where the ruling party continues to act in a manner where, it seems to be unaccountable to the people of this country. And the deep tragedy from our perspective is that for many South Africans, a 5-year period which requires a politician to return to them and win their support back is their only ability to exercise accountability against politicians who have assumed the status of gods and, unaccountable to the people of this country. And that is why this is deeply sad. If you look at the state of local government in South Africa, it is nothing short of a crisis by way of the stability of services and the provision and quality of those services. And over and above everything else, I would suggest to you, there has never been a more important time for democracy and health to be interrelated than it is now. Because this is the time when the South African people have their opportunity to speak out about the government's handling of this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes. Now, looking at the IEC, and one of the issues that you have raised in this statement is the IEC has allowed itself to be led by the vested interests of political parties.
Absolutely. So political parties are the ones who have led this discussion, which is deeply problematic because, as Justice Moseneke correctly reports, political parties have a vested interest. So when the EFF says they don't want elections until 2024, they're not concerned about the health or well-being of South Africans. That's what they want electorally. The ANC, similarly, every party has their own agenda. The reality is our constitution empowered an electoral authority in Chapter 9 called the IEC, which had the obligation to be the authority on elections. And they should have been the ones leading this discussion, saying, these are the very best measures we can put in place. This is what we're going to do. Let's put this on the table and give South Africans the confidence they need to vote. That never happened.
Yes. Now, Michael, just looking at the consequences of a delay in elections, what does this actually mean?
Well, it means we're going to have to wait 4 months before we go to the ballot, which obviously just means 4 more months before South Africans get to hold their public representatives accountable. I was asked the question the other day whether that is so bad. I always remind people that there are municipalities in this country where people live without any form of services, where sewage runs through the street, where their money is being stolen on a daily basis, or where it's been under administration for 10 to 15 years. So for some South Africans, the opportunity to change a government has been long awaited. The fact that we have to wait 4 months, we will all have to live with. But, it is something that we must be aware that there are many failing and corrupt governments that will now continue to govern, even though they are governing on a mandate that is more than 5 years old. And I ask yourself this, how much has changed in the last 5 years in South Africa?
Very little. In fact, I think it's gone the other way around. In fact, it's changed for the worse from what we've seen and from what we are experiencing, Michael. Now, Michael, just moving forward, have you got any other options as ActionSA?
Well, our options are focused on the election. The reality is that the way we are going to fix this country is by having a political party that can present an offer to the South African people, an offer that is different from any other political party because it is positive and it is solutions-oriented, and that is going to animate those people who've given up on the political process, who are the majority of our country. And that is what we see to be the role of ActionSA. We are here to fix South Africa, and the only way we can do that is by winning elections.
Well, Michael, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning. Please be safe and please take care. All the best to you.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
Michael Beaumont, ActionSA National Chairperson, with us this morning.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our